at how the JSE performed, we ended flat but to the negative today. What did you take from today's trade? Because obviously it seemed that the markets just battled to find some form of direction. Absolutely.
Portfolio managers are really struggling to find value in the current market, having run up so sharply in the past year. We got off to a negative start this morning. And the catalyst that drove us to close even on the day were the US jobless data numbers, which came in fractionally better than expected. And I'm emphasizing fractionally because I think the differential was 8,000 jobs better than the 510,000 jobless claims that the market was expecting. So, I mean, you know, if the markets, it almost feels like the market's grasping at straws at these levels. Well, we've had a lot of earnings out of the South African front, big companies, small companies. Yes. Let's just take a look at today, because BJM, in fact, came out with the results and headline earnings per share up 15%. Correct. I do believe you're speaking to our Group CEO, Andy Lemazwai, a bit later on. I think the number to maybe focus on would be the gross brokerage revenue, which we grew effectively more than what we're down 13%. So in real terms, compared to JSE market volumes, which is down 18%, I think BJM did quite well considering the market. Argent also came out with results today, and 97% fall in first half headline profits. I mean, obviously, recession really hitting quite hard on that company. Yes, those numbers are smack bam in the middle of the trading update. They're taking a lot of strain because they're basically steel merchants, and then they add value to some of their steel products. You know, they own the likes of Jetmaster and Expander Gates and Excalibur running boards. So those are sort of almost lifestyle assets that are the first things to go when you have in a recession like we are now. And looks like they've cut back staff quite aggressively. And the interesting thing about Argent, though, is their net asset value, in that a big portion of the assets on the balance sheet are, in fact, their properties. So this is quite an interesting NAV play where the stock's trading about R8.50, and the net tangible NAV, according to our calculations, just over R9.20. And effectively, it makes it a property company. So if you're basically getting the rest of the business for free. So would you be buying this company at these levels? It's probably fair value at these levels. You know, it's a recovery story. So if you believe in we're coming out of the recession. Do you believe we're coming out of the recession, Etienne? I think we still have some way to go, especially in South Africa. I'd prefer the Reserve Bank not to look at administered prices and inflation targeting, because effectively that's just what it is. It's an administered price. It's not driven by supply and demand. You know, critically, we have no say whether or not the electricity price goes up 45% or not. Similarly, the oil price and so on and so forth. So I prefer looking at inflation having stripped out administered prices. And when you look at those sort of, the economy is really under pressure, and I think a rate cut wouldn't be untoward. However, having said that, our house view as BJM is that we're not going to see a cut. Taking a look at Eskom, because there's been a lot of troubles there, and you know, Paul Makwana is now the acting chairman of Eskom, and probably so for the next 90 days. Who do you think is going to take on the role going forward from here? Because we know that Eskom is looking locally and globally for replacements for Bobby Godsell and Jacob Maroga. I'm not sure anybody would step forward, considering, you know, the mess that we've seen. I mean, quite frankly, it's a complete disaster. You know, you can't have one of the biggest parastatals in the country being run like this, then having to go on an international roadshow to raise capital in order to build new power stations so we can actually keep the country lit and businesses going. So I think it's going to be a tough call. State-owned arms corps, and there's also troubles there. Yes. Exactly. The chief executive asked to resign as well. Yeah, it looks like he's also digging in his heels and denying vehemently that he had a fairly autocratic management style, according to gossip. We've actually seen quite a lot of shuffling going around on the leadership front, not only in the public sector, but also the private sector. Yeah. You know, it's, as Warren Buffett puts it, you know, when the tide goes out, then you see who's been swimming naked. And I think this recession has done just that. It's sort of caught a lot of mediocre managers with their pants on their ankles, and it's, you know, it's sort of show and tell time. And if you can't deliver the goods when times are tough, then you probably have to
Well, speaking with being caught with your pants down, PPC admitting to collusion in the market share price, just looking at that market share rather.
Yes.
And also the fact that the Competition Commission is also looking into the construction sector, also looking into the retail sector, and we've seen price collusion across other sectors in South Africa. Why do we have such a big issue with price collusion and collusion generally in the private sector?
Well, if I understand your question correctly, I think there are two elements here. The first is the fact that this is a free market economy. So we'd prefer to have just that, free market prices driven by supply and demand, whereas in almost a cartel-like environment, you don't have that. So effectively comes down to monopolizing and price fixing, and it's not very competitive at the end of the day, and it doesn't benefit the consumer. So hence us having the Competition Commission and these regulatory bodies investigating these sort of things to our benefit, I'd like to believe.